The 1966 Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster has to be the only movie where Mothra gives Godzilla a Mike Tyson punch to the head! Yes! Too bad that's the only highlight. She's only in the movie for 2 minutes, and half that time she's sleeping! Look at that! The painting looks nothing like Mothra. Are those her legs? Ugh. Strangely, for how little screen time Mothra has, the Danish for some reason figured Mothra was the lead, so they titled it Mothra the Flying Dracula Monster. Okay? Am I missing something here, or does the general public really struggle with trying to tell these two characters apart? An alternate US film title is Ebra, Horror of the Deep. So let's take a look at Ebra. He's a giant shrimp-like thing that destroys any boat that's in close proximity to an island inhabited by terrorists seeking to take over the world. This terrorist group captures and enslaves Mothra's people to do their dirty work for them, and if any of them dare to escape and venture out into the ocean, Ebra appears and shish kebabs them for a quick snack. Whenever his giant claw appears in a storm, it has to be to some James Bond-like music.
Giant claw!
It's so cool. There's actually decent build-up to the story about how some individuals meet each other under bizarre circumstances and get stranded on the island, but eventually it hits a wall and goes nowhere. You're just begging for some monster action. And finally, an hour in, Godzilla wakes up from inside a cave. How he got in through that tiny entrance, I have no idea, but he's probably the most harrowing part of the film. If I had to describe Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster in one word, it's awkward. The suit is horrible. While he's stomping the terrorist base, his eyes are fixated on looking up. He's like, "Dude, where do I go?" He looks so stupid! Originally, this film was going to star King Kong, but at the last second, Toho replaced him with Godzilla, believing he would have more marquee value. However, he still retains Kong's characteristics, like how lightning awakens him and makes him strong, which is what happened to Kong in King Kong vs. Godzilla. He also exhibits an interest in a girl. Although he doesn't grab her and try to run away like Kong, no, he just awkwardly stares at her and breathes really loud like an old fat man. And then he falls asleep. Again. Great. This was the first film where the three juggernauts who were responsible for the golden age of the Godzilla films, the musical composer, the special effects director, and the director, had little to no involvement in creating the movie. And holy cripes does it show. This is where the Godzilla series begins to be unintentionally funny. For example, the Big G has a fight with a giant condor, and it's probably the worst fight ever, because you can't see what's going on. What am I watching? Then he takes on an air squadron to surfer funk music. Wow. As for the bouts with Ebra, they satisfy my monster bashing, but they're still slightly bizarre. All they really do is either fight underwater, which is really hard to see, or they play catch with a rock. Okay, it's mostly awkward, but then at one point it becomes funny. Look at the rock now! That's great! Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Mothra the Flying Dracula Monster, is probably one of the weakest entries in the series. Check it out if you want a few laughs, but otherwise, from a monster movies fan perspective, unless you have nostalgic ties to it, and I rarely say this, but I'd skip over this one.